Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Aravind Educations or Aravind Biology Classes. For more updates, please subscribe my channel Aravind Biology Classes or Aravind Educations. Today we are going to learn about nutrition in plants. So before we enter into the concept, let us try to take the definition of nutrition, types of nutritions, and then we will enter into nutrition in plants. Nutrition is nothing but the process of procuring nutrients and utilization of food. The process of procuring nutrients and utilization of food is called nutrition. Nutrients are nothing but organic substances which are oxidized and release energy. They are called nutrients. These nutrients are used by the organisms for growth, for various metabolic activities. Okay, so let us discuss today types of nutrition. There are two types of nutrition, that is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Here, let us see the first one. Auto means self, trophe means nutrition, nourishment. Trophe means nourishment. So, the process of synthesizing their own organic food from inorganic material is called autotrophic nutrition. The process of synthesizing their own organic nutrients from the inorganic substances is called autotrophic nutrition. Nothing but, in simple word, I can say self-synthesizing organisms. They are in a position to synthesize their own food by themselves. Okay, then autotrophic nutrition is of two types: photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. See the word photo means sunlight, autotrophs means self-synthesizing organisms. So the organisms which are able to synthesize their own food with the help of solar energy, the organisms which are able to synthesize their own food with the help of solar energy comes under photoautotrophs. So all green plants as an example for photoautotrophs. Then chemoautotrophs, nothing but chemo means chemicals. So the organisms which are able to utilize the chemicals which are available in its surrounding medium, and by oxidizing those chemicals, if they are able to prepare their own food, then that comes under chemoautotrophs. Okay, right? Autotrophic nutrition, the organisms which are able to synthesize their own organic food material from the available inorganic material comes under autotrophic. If they are able to prepare their own food material by using sunlight, that comes under photoautotrophs. And the organisms which are able to synthesize their own food material by oxidizing the chemicals which are available in the surrounding medium, that comes under chemoautotrophs. Here example, Nitrobacter and Ferrobacillus bacterium. This is iron bacterium, Ferrobacillus bacterium. Okay, so these organisms are able to synthesize their own food by utilizing the chemicals available in the surroundings. Okay, then heterotrophic. Hetero means different or other. Trophe means again nourishment. Okay, that means the organisms which cannot synthesize their own food and they depend on other organisms for the sake of food, that comes under heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition is of three types. Let us see the first one, that is saprophyte or saprotroph. The organisms which are able to obtain its food from dead organisms, excreta, fallen leaves or broken twigs is called as saprophyte or saprotroph. Here, these organisms, they pour digestive enzymes on the external organic substrate they convert the complex organic substrate into simpler soluble substances. Now those soluble substances are absorbed by the organisms. So such type of nutrition is called saprophytic nutrition or saprotroph. Example for this is bacterium and fungi. So in fungi, the common bread mold, rhizopus mucor, mushroom, yeast, these organisms exhibit saprophytic nutrition. Okay, so here the organism is digesting the substance outside of its body and absorbed inside. That's why they exhibit extracellular digestion. Okay, then let us take second one, parasitic nutrition. Parasitic. So the organism which is depending on the other organism for the sake of food and shelter, such type of nutrition is called parasitic nutrition. The organism which is depending on the host for the sake of food and shelter, that is parasite. The organism which is providing food and shelter, that organism is called host. Okay, so here parasite either depends on the host outside of its body or inside of the organism. Okay, so basing on that, parasite is of two types. Okay, external parasite and internal parasite. If parasite is able to survive outside the host surface, then it is called as external parasite. For external parasite, right, examples are, we can take head louse is an example. Okay, then bed bugs, right? So these organisms comes under example for external parasite. They depend on external surface of the host body. Okay, next, internal parasite. If the parasite is able to live the internal surface of the host body, then that comes under internal parasite. A well-known example is Plasmodium. Plasmodium falciparum is a parasite which causes malaria in human beings. It used to live in the human liver cell as well as RBCs. Okay, not only Plasmodium, you can take the case of tapeworm. Tapeworm used to live inside the small intestine. Roundworm used to live inside the small intestine. Okay, tapeworm is causing teniasis. Roundworm is Ascaris lumbricoides causing ascariasis. Not only this, even you see the case of Wuchereria, right? This is nothing but filarial worm. This is responsible to cause filaria. These are all living inside the surface of the host body. Such type of parasite is called internal parasite. Okay, so any organism which is depending on the host for the sake of its food and shelter and cause damage to the host is called parasitic nutrition. Based on the area where they are living, it is of two types, as external parasite and internal parasite. External parasite, if parasite is surviving on the host external surface. Internal parasite, if parasite is able to survive in the internal surface of the host body. Okay, so that is second one. Third one, holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition. This is the nutrition where the process of intake of solid particulate food at once. Solid particulate food at once. Okay, the process of intake of solid particulate food at once is called holozoic nutrition. Okay, a better example, mammals, right? Human beings are included in that, right? Amoeba is another example which is exhibiting holozoic nutrition. Now, based on the source of food which is available, holozoic nutrition is of following types. First one is a herbivore. First one is a herbivore. Right? Look at the technical term. Herb means small plant-like substance. Vorous means to eat. Vorous means to eat. This is small plant-like substance. Okay? Plant-like. Right? Now herbivorous, the organism which is depending on the plant or plant parts. Okay? The organism which is depending on the plant or plant parts is called herbivore. well-known examples: cow, buffalo, deer, and all these things. Okay, so these are nothing but grass eaters. These are nothing but grass eaters. Okay, then second one, carnivore. Second one, carnivore. Carni means flesh. Carni means flesh. So the organisms which are depending on the flesh of the other organism. So these are called as flesh eaters. Well-known example: lion, tiger, etc. Then third one, omnivore. Omnivore, right? Nothing but the organism which is depending on both plant and flesh. That means so omnivore is an organism which is both grass eater as well as flesh eater. So man is a better example for this. Cockroach, ant, dog, these are also included under omnivores, right? Then along with this, there is fourth one, that is detrivore. Detrivore, nothing but the organism which is depending on only dead organisms. The organism depends on only dead organisms, right? Well-known example, hyena and vulture. Okay, these are called as carbon feeders. These are also called as scavengers. Okay, along with this, we may also see even symbiotism. Symbiotism, beautiful association actually. This is an animal association where both the organisms are mutually benefited, or this is the animal association where one organism is get benefited from the other organism. Okay, so let us see the examples here. One is nitrogen fixing bacteria, nitrogen fixing bacteria, and leguminaceae plants. Leguminaceae plants. Okay, nitrogen fixing bacteria, for this example, Rhizobium leguminosarum, Rhizobium. Okay, then Azotobacter. Okay, then Anabina, Nostoc. All these things are examples for nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, leguminaceae plant, bean plant, pea plant, okay, groundnut. These are the examples for leguminaceae plants. So in these plants, in these roots of these plants, they possess swollen structures called nodules, root nodules. In these root nodules, these nitrogen fixing bacteria used to survive, and they trap the atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into nitrate or nitrite and submit it to the plant body, so that plant is utilized for the nitrogen for its growth. Then these bacteria, they used to reside or stay inside the root nodules of these plants, so even bacteria is also benefited. Okay, then second example is combination of algae and fungi. This combination is called lichens, right? Here one point is known to us: algae are chlorophyllous in nature, fungi are non-chlorophyllous in nature. That means algae is able to synthesize its own food, fungi cannot synthesize its own food. So algae provide carbohydrates to fungi. Okay, then fungi in turn provide water, mineral salts and protection to the algae. This combination is called lichens. Algae provide carbohydrates to fungi, so fungi is benefited. Fungi is providing water and mineral salts and protection to the algae, so algae is benefited. Okay, then one more example, sea anemone and hermit crab. Right? So crab, on hermit crab, sea anemone is attached on its external surface. Wherever crab goes, sea anemone will move, and when it is moving, sea anemone used to find its food. Okay, so sea anemone is benefited. Then hermit crab, right? When crab is in danger, sea anemone is able to protect the crab with the help of nidoblasts. It possesses nidoblasts, the poisonous glands by which it may attack the enemy. So sea anemone protects the hermit crab. Okay. Then one more example, that is crocodile and pulvinus bird. Crocodile and pulvinus bird, beautiful association. Crocodile is the strongest animal in the water, and the pulvinus bird is a small white bird, right? There is a beautiful association between these two. Whenever crocodile had its food, or whenever the crocodile get infected with the leeches, the pulvinus bird used to sit in the mouth of the crocodile and remove the leeches and the pieces which are entangled between the teeth of that particular crocodile, so that crocodile gets relief from leeches and the food pieces. Pulvinus bird is directly getting its food, so that pulvinus bird is also benefited. Okay, such type of combination is called symbiotism. Okay, so like this, we can see plenty of relations in the nature. Okay, so let us now enter into our first topic, that is nutrition in plants. Plants are able to synthesize their own food with the help of a process called photosynthesis. So let us take photosynthesis. So let us continue with photosynthesis. So here, photosynthesis is a photochemical process in which carbohydrates are synthesized by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight inside the chloroplast. So it is a photochemical process by taking carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight inside the chloroplast. Plant is in a position to synthesize carbohydrate. Along with this, oxygen and water are released as byproducts. Okay, but we need to take a balanced equation. So 6CO2, 12H2O in the presence of sunlight and chloroplast. C6H12O6 glucose and 6O2 and 6 water are released. Okay, so a photochemical process in which carbohydrates are synthesized by utilizing carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight inside the chloroplast is called photosynthesis. Along with this, oxygen and water are released as byproducts. Okay, so to understand that, we have to see the mechanism of photosynthesis. Before we enter into the mechanism, we need to go through the site of occurrence, the place of occurrence where this particular process is seen. We know well, as a part of our 9th class knowledge, plant cells possess plastids. There are 3 types of plastids are there: chloroplasts, chromoplasts and leucoplasts. Chloroplasts are seen in the case of younger green stem and leaves. Chromoplasts are present in fruits and flowers. Leucoplasts are present in roots. Chloroplasts are able to harvest the energy present in sun rays, solar energy can be harvested and it is converted into chemical energy. So they helps in photosynthesis. Chromoplasts are able to attract the pollinating agents and helps in pollination. Okay, and then leucoplasts helps in storage of food. So here, for photosynthesis topic, we are in need of the structure of chloroplast. So let us take the structure of chloroplast. Okay, so chloroplast is a bimembranous flattened disc-like structure which is present in the cytoplasm of cell. Now each chloroplast, I said bimembranous, so this is outer membrane and this is inner membrane, and inside each chloroplast you will find several flattened sac-like structures. So each sac-like structure is called thylakoid membrane. Thylakoid membrane, right? Now several sac-like structures are piled up together like this. Now this one complete structure, this is called granum. This is called granum. Okay. Small sac-like structure is called thylakoid membrane, all the thylakoid membranes are piled up together, right? They are grouped together to form a complete structure that is called granum. And one granum and another granum, they are in connection with the help of a this particular structure. This is called as fret, and it is also called as a stroma lamellae. Stroma lamellae. Then, other than this, the remaining portion of this particular chloroplast is filled with a colorless fluid-like substance. This colorless fluid-like substance, this is called as a stroma. Okay. Along with this, this particular chloroplast possesses a loop of DNA. Along with this, it also possesses a starch grain also. Starch granule. Okay, right? Now, let me repeat. Chloroplast is a bimembranous cell organelle surrounded by two membranes, outer membrane, inner membrane, and it possesses two specific parts. One is granum, the other one is stroma. Okay, so granum is made up of small sac-like structures called thylakoid membranes. Several thylakoid membranes are grouped together. It leads to the formation of granum singular, together called grana. Okay, this grana is placed in the middle of the colorless substance what called as stroma. One granum, another granum connected together by fret or stroma lamellae. Okay, now among all the cell organelles inside the cell, chloroplast and mitochondria, only these two possess a loop of DNA separately. That's why chloroplast and mitochondria are semi-autonomous in nature other than nucleus. Okay, right? Now, in these thylakoid membranes, on the walls of thylakoid membrane or inside the thylakoid membrane, chlorophyll pigment is available. Chlorophyll pigment is present on the walls of thylakoid membrane or inside the thylakoid membrane. Okay, right? So this is the structure of the chloroplast. Okay, now once you understand the structure of chloroplast, then we have to see the mechanism which is involved in photosynthesis. So the entire photosynthesis is divided into two reactions. One is light reaction, the other one is dark reaction. Light reaction and dark reaction. Let us see two fundamental differences. Okay, light reaction is also called as photochemical phase. And dark reaction is also called as biosynthetic phase. Okay, now first point, light reaction is light dependent process. Absolutely, it is light dependent process. That means if sunlight is available, the process will continue. If there is no sunlight, you can't expect light reaction to go on. Okay, then dark reaction is light independent process. This is light independent process. That means whether sunlight is available or not, okay, the process will continue. Dark doesn't mean it will occur during night time. No sir. Once light reaction is completed, immediately within a fraction of a second, the dark reaction will continue. Okay. Then light reaction is seen in grana or thylakoid membrane. Light reaction is seen in grana or thylakoid membrane. As we know well, grana is made up of thylakoid membranes. The dark reaction takes place in stroma. Dark reaction is taking place in stroma. Okay, right? So entire mechanism of photosynthesis divided into two reactions, right? Light reaction, dark reaction. Light reaction is purely light dependent process. It will continue only when sunlight is available and it occurs in grana. Okay, so here our first step will be seen here. When sunlight falls here, so here our first step will be seen. We will get something XYZ end products. By carrying those end products in stroma, the second process will continue. In stroma, the second process will be seen. So that is what we are going to discuss in this particular mechanism. So let us see what happens in mechanism. Okay.